Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Charlotte Dobre and today we are going to try to answer the question, was Jesus Christ a real person? This topic is quite controversial because the Christian community believes that yes, he was a real person. However, those who are not Christian might wonder, was Jesus really the Son of God? Or just a human being like you or me? Could Jesus really perform miracles? Or was his life an elaborate lie? Did Jesus Christ even exist at all? We at LBQ do not wish to offend anyone. We simply want to unearth the truth. I'm going to give you all the facts right now on Life's Biggest Questions. I would like to start off this video by saying, nowhere except in the Bible is there an official record of Jesus Christ. There are other historians who wrote about Jesus, but this was many years after he died. Hundreds of years to be exact. Not even a record of his death exists, which is odd. Someone as important as Jesus should have had a recorded death, shouldn't he? There are those who believe that Jesus Christ was actually an elaborate Roman conspiracy. Joseph Atwill, a controversial biblical scholar, believes that the New Testament was written by 1st century Roman aristocrats, and they completely made up the story of Jesus Christ. So why would the Romans want to invent a new religion? Well, according to Atwill, Christianity may be considered a religion, but it was actually developed and used as a system of mind control to produce slaves that believed that God condoned their slavery. Jewish sects at the time were awaiting the arrival of their Messiah in Palestine. Jewish sects were a huge problem for the Romans, so they decided to turn to another type of warfare, psychological warfare. This is just a conspiracy theory, but I thought it important to include it in this video. Alright, let's look at some evidence that Jesus Christ existed. In 70 AD, the Romans invaded and destroyed Jerusalem and slaughtered most of its inhabitants. Entire cities were burned, and likely so did much of the evidence of Jesus' existence, if there was any. Perhaps some of the best evidence that Jesus existed are several ancient manuscripts found in the 18th and 20th centuries. Archaeologists have also come across several relics and places that coincide with the New Testament accounts of Jesus. Before the 20th century, there was very little hard evidence that Jesus actually existed. But in 1961, several artifacts were found, and one bore the name Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, who was the Roman governor that was a central figure in the trial that eventually led to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. This artifact has been proven to be 100% authentic, meaning Pontius was a real person. Okay, so we know Pontius existed, but does that mean that Jesus existed? It was long believed that Jesus' hometown of Nazareth was not a real place during his lifetime, but clay shards were found in Nazareth in 2009 that confirmed that it did exist during the time when Jesus was supposed to have lived. But again, how is it that someone as important as Jesus does not have documentation backing up his existence? Well, that is because there is very little documentation available for anyone during the time Jesus lived. Even for the great Roman leader Julius Caesar, not a lot of documentation exists that confirms he actually lived, yet no historian questions the existence of Julius Caesar. There were two early Roman historians, Tacitus and Suetonius, who wrote of Jesus Christ, acknowledging him as a real person. Jewish historians like Flavius Josephus also made references to Jesus Christ. In addition, there are several pagan writers who also mention Jesus. So does all of this mean that Jesus was a real person? Yes, it does. A man named Jesus did live during the 1st century AD, and thousands of Christians in that time period, including the 12 apostles, were willing to give their lives as martyrs for Jesus Christ. Would they really have done so if he were not a real person? That's highly unlikely. Jesus was a real person. But does that mean that he was the Son of God who walked the earth performing miracles, was crucified and then rose from the dead? Well, that is perhaps a topic for another Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Charlotte Dobre. Don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel.